So that's a look at some of the notable matchups in college football this weekend. Let's dig in with CBS college football writer. You know him from the Cover 3 podcast. We know him as someone who has good information week in and week out for a host of games from the college ranks. Chip Patterson, let's start in the SEC. You have Alabama and Tennessee in a top 10 matchup. Also Kentucky and Mississippi State from top 25s matching up. What's a wager to make right now from the Southeastern Conference, Chip?
Right now, I would say go and grab Mississippi State, and I would lay that short number at Kentucky. You know, we don't want to jump in necessarily on Alabama, Tennessee until we know for sure the status of Bryce Young, just because that's so significant. We got a little bit of news here. Hey, we think Will Levis is going to play for Kentucky. That means jump all over Kentucky at home, right? Wrong, because it's about the players around Will Levis that I'm really concerned about. And Mississippi State's defense has been very, very good. Defensive coordinator Zach Arnett does a very good job creating a lot of pressure with that defensive front. And the Kentucky offensive line has taken a real step back this season, in my opinion. That's going to make life much more difficult for Will Levis, in addition to the lack of the pass-catching options. And I just think that this Wildcats team is really struggling. And where is the quality win? We are still ranking this Kentucky team, not we at CBS. We've got them outside of the top 30, but they are inside the AP top 25. Overranked, overrated. Mississippi State exposes that on Saturday.
All right, Chip, Atlantic Coast Conference offers top 20s NC State and Syracuse, while number 4 Clemson looks to stay spotless in Tallahassee against FSU, and it's North Carolina and Duke on the gridiron. So what's the top ACC wager to make as we speak?
Well, Jim, at the top of the segment, you mentioned NC State's dominance of Syracuse is leading me right to back the Wolfpack. And look, Devin Leary, the star quarterback, is probably not going to be playing. And the drop-off when you look to Jack Chambers, the backup, is massive. I mean, it totally changes the way that this team is going to play football. However, this NC State defense is elite. We saw them do a good job, played well enough, honestly, in Death Valley to be able to give NC State a shot to win against Clemson. The defense was the side that won them the ball game against Florida State, even after Devin Leary went out. And if they are able to get Chambers prepared to implement a little bit more in the passing game than what we saw in the second half against the Seminoles, they do get Devin Carter back at wide receiver. They're getting healthier at the running back position. So the absence of Devin Leary is why you see this spread the way it is. Yeah. But the series history and the NC State defense have me looking at a low-scoring game. So gimme all those points.
Yeah, no doubt about it. A bit of a surprise that they're getting those points. So the game of the week regarding the Big Ten, 10th ranked Penn State at number 5. Michigan, we mentioned Wolverines 3-14 against top 10s under Jim Harbaugh. There are a host of other matchups that may provide better odds at cashing in. So, Chip, as you look at the conference slate from the Big Ten, what's the top wager to make right now?
Two great defenses going head-to-head in Champaign. We're going to have a sellout for Minnesota and Illinois, a battle of two of the teams that are trying to be at the front of the Big Ten West race right now. Only we know that this Illinois offense, we have to downgrade them because Tommy DeVito out, Art Sitkowski in. They're going to try to run the ball. They're going to try to play elite defense. And Minnesota is a group that, yes, while they are better offensively than what I'm expecting from Illinois, defense is really where the Golden Gophers have made their bread and butter so far this year. And so I'm looking at Illinois. I'm looking at Minnesota, two good under teams already. But let's throw a cherry on top of this. Brett Bielema at home, unders since he showed up at Illinois. This is still very early in the Bielema tenure. I understand it's a small sample size, but when he is at home playing in front of that home crowd, he likes to lean on his defense and give them the best chance to win the game. So it is a low number, Jim, but we are still going to go under that number.
How about the job Bielema has done with those Fighting Illini? Now, it was an interesting week from the Big 12. Texas demolishing Oklahoma, the biggest blowout in the Red River rivalry. Kansas came up a little short against TCU in that ranked versus ranked game. The Sooners licking their wounds welcome the 19th ranked Jayhawks, while the Longhorns puffing out their chest host Iowa State. Then there's 8th ranked Oklahoma State, and now number 13th ranked TCU. Which kickoff are you focused on as a best bet to make from this conference?
Well, it's a Big 12 banger. I mean, it's such a great game. I got to give you a pick because I know you're going to have it as your second screen alongside the SEC on CBS Game of the Week. That is Alabama and Tennessee. We're going to TCU and Oklahoma State, and we're taking the over. And I'll just throw in a little bonus. If you want to do Kansas and Oklahoma over, I like that as well, because the bottom 4 teams in the Big 12 in total defense are Kansas, TCU, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State. This Oklahoma State defense has done a good job of bowing up when they need to, but this is a group that's been led by Spencer Sanders through and through. Obviously, we've seen TCU can put it up as well, and I just think that we're going to see this game get a little sideways. This game's going to ping pong back and forth just a little bit, and so I have to look and just trust what I see, that Max Duggan and an offense that has been so explosive, they are second only to Ohio State in plays of 30-plus yards, like this run that you see by Max Duggan right here. Spencer Sanders playing some of his best football of his career here for the Cowboys in 22. I think that this is just going to be like right out of what we would expect from the Big 12, a classic shootout. Whoever gets the ball last wins, and that sends this thing soaring over the total, probably finishing somewhere in the mid to high 70s.
Yeah, as I mentioned, the Horned Frogs averaging over 8 yards per play this season, and I might add Oklahoma's won 17 straight against Kansas, but this is a different Sooners team this year. Pac-12 going through some changing of the guard at the top. Both LA teams, UCLA and USC, unbeaten. The Bruins fresh off the win over Utah, and this week it's the Trojans that get the Utes in a top 20 game. What's the wager to make right now from the Pac-12, Chip?
It's USC, it's take the points, but not for the reasons that you might have thought coming into the year. Caleb Williams has not been fantastic. This offense now kind of runs through running back Travis Dye, and he has been stellar so far over the last couple of weeks. The defense does a good job of getting after the passer. They force turnovers, and Cameron Rising, ever since losing Brant Keithy, the tight end, who was Utah's best passing option, Rising's favorite target, it looks like it's a little bit out of sorts. And I looked back at that Utah-UCLA game. I'm very concerned with all of the explosive plays that Utah allowed. Yeah. They were not able to get a good pass rush on Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I do not think that bodes well going up against a USC team that has the kind of playmakers that UCLA has, maybe and then some. And so for a Utah group that is the reigning Pac-12 champions, came into the year thinking maybe they can crash the college football playoff, I think that we are going to see, with last week's result against UCLA and then this week's game against USC, this is going to be a cold, sobering stretch for the Utes as USC continues its undefeated start to the season.
Again, the Utes have won 11 straight at home, but how good would it be to have that USC-UCLA matchup with both teams unbeaten? So, Chip, you've gone through the Power Fives. Now time to go off the beaten path, if you will, for a top wager to make that's off the radar. What do you have?
We're going to go to the Mountain West Conference, and we are going to take a San Jose State team that has been absolutely rolling. Defensively, they are fantastic. That is the side that really has led them to a lot of their success through most of the year. And they are going up against a Fresno State team that's really hurting. You know, they are waiting to get quarterback Jake Haener back from injury. They thought it might be this week. It's not going to be this week. And so I do not give Fresno State much of a chance. Fresno State's playing at home. It's supposed to be like a celebration of Davante Adams. But if you're into vibes, Davante Adams vibes aren't that great either right now. So take San Jose State to be able to go into town, cause a little bit of trouble, and play spoiler. They win this game by double digits.
Good stuff, Chip Patterson. We'll take a look at those picks he made for this Week 7 in the college football season from the SEC. He says lay the 4 points with Mississippi State against Kentucky. ACC says take the 3.5 with NC State, who's dominated the Cuse. Big Ten, he's focused on the under with regards to Minnesota and Illinois, that total at 39.5. So he goes over in the Big 12 with TCU and Oklahoma State, that total at 68.5. From the Pac-12, USC getting, I should say, 3.5 against Utah. So take those points with the Trojans. And off the radar, give it up. 8.5 points, San Jose State against San Diego State.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.